The Stranger Who Saved a Small Town Diner. At 2:17 a.m. in a tiny town in Ohio, a stranger walked into an almost empty diner. He was soaking wet from the rain. His clothes were old, his shoes were covered in mud, and he carried a small, battered suitcase in one hand. The waitress looked at him and said, "Sir, we're closing in 10 minutes. The stranger nodded. "I know, I don't need much, just a cup of coffee." She poured him a cup. He took one sip, looked around the diner, and quietly asked, "Is this place for sale?" The waitress froze. "For sale? Yes." She laughed nervously. "You'd have to ask the owner. But why would you want this place?" The stranger looked through the window at the empty street. Then he said something that made her heart stop. "Because 25 years ago, someone here saved my life." 25 years earlier, the same diner had been busy every night. It was called Maggie's Corner. Maggie, the owner, was a kind woman in her 60s who knew almost everyone in town. She had one rule: if someone is hungry, feed them. We'll figure out the money later. One freezing December night, a teenage boy walked into the diner. He was about 17. His jacket was torn. His face was bruised. And he looked terrified. Maggie immediately noticed something was wrong. She walked over and asked, "Sweetheart, are you okay?" The boy looked down. "I don't have any money." Maggie smiled. "I didn't ask if you had money." She placed a bowl of hot soup in front of him. "Eat." The boy stared at the soup. Then he started crying. Maggie sat beside him. After a few minutes, the boy finally spoke. "My name is Daniel." He explained that he had run away from home after years of abuse. He had nowhere to go. He had slept behind an abandoned gas station for 3 nights. That night, he had almost given up. Maggie listened without judging him. Then she gave him a room above the diner. "You can stay here until you figure things out." Daniel looked shocked. "You don't even know me." Maggie smiled. "Maybe not. But everyone deserves one person who believes in them." Those words changed Daniel's life. Years passed. Daniel worked hard. He finished high school. He went to college. He eventually became a successful businessman. But he never forgot Maggie. Every Christmas, he sent her a card. Every birthday, he called her. But life became busy. And one day, the call stopped. Not because Daniel forgot her. Because he thought Maggie would always be there. Until one morning, he received a phone call. It was from Maggie's daughter, Sarah. "Daniel, Mom passed away last night." He couldn't speak. For several seconds, there was complete silence. Then Sarah said, "She left something for you." 3 days later, Daniel returned to the town. He drove past the old diner. The sign was faded. The parking lot was cracked. Inside, only 2 tables were occupied. Sarah was sitting behind the counter. She looked exhausted. Daniel hugged her. "I'm sorry." Sarah smiled sadly. She loved this place. Daniel looked around. "What happened?" Sarah sighed. "Business has been terrible." She explained that the diner was deep in debt. The bank was threatening foreclosure. If she couldn't pay the loan within 30 days, Maggie's Corner would be gone. Daniel walked toward the old counter. Everything looked smaller than he remembered. Then he noticed something. A photograph. It showed Maggie standing beside a teenage boy. "Daniel." Under the photograph was a handwritten note. He picked it up. The note said, "Daniel, if you ever come back, remember this place wasn't built with money. It was built with kindness." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He looked at Sarah. "How much do you owe?" Sarah shook her head. "You don't need to worry about that. I asked how much." She told him. Daniel didn't say another word. He pulled out his phone. The next morning, Sarah arrived at the diner expecting another stressful day. Instead, she found Daniel standing outside. He handed her an envelope. "What is this?" "Your debt." Sarah opened it. Her hands began to shake. The entire loan had been paid. She looked at Daniel. "You paid all of it?" He nodded. "But why?" Daniel smiled. "Because 25 years ago, your mother gave a scared kid a bowl of soup when nobody else cared." Sarah started crying. "You don't owe us anything." Daniel shook his head. "I know." Then he looked at the diner. "But maybe I owe the world a little kindness." Daniel didn't stop there. He invested in the diner. He renovated the kitchen. He repaired the roof. He replaced the old furniture. But he insisted on keeping one thing exactly the same: Maggie's old counter. And he added a small sign above it. It said, "If you're hungry, eat first. We'll figure out the money later." The diner became popular again, but Daniel made one unusual decision. Every Friday night, Maggie's Corner offered free meals to anyone who couldn't afford one. Homeless people, struggling families, teenagers with empty wallets. Nobody was asked questions. Nobody was judged. And slowly, something beautiful happened. People began coming from neighboring towns just to help. Some donated food. Others donated money. Local farmers brought vegetables. A bakery donated bread. A mechanic fixed the diner's old delivery truck for free. The entire town became part of Maggie's dream. One rainy evening, a young girl walked into the diner. She looked about 15. Her clothes were wet. She sat in the corner and stared at the menu. The waitress approached her. "What can I get you?" The girl whispered. "Nothing. I don't have any money." The waitress smiled. "You don't need money." She brought her a warm meal. The girl looked confused. "Why are you doing this?" The waitress pointed toward the sign above the counter. The girl read it. Then she smiled. Across the room, Daniel watched silently. For the first time in years, he understood something. Maggie hadn't simply saved him. She had started something that could keep saving people long after she was gone. Later that night, Daniel stood outside the diner. Rain fell softly around him. He looked up at the old sign, Maggie's Corner. He smiled. Then his phone rang. It was Sarah. "Daniel, there's someone here who wants to meet you." He walked inside. The young girl from earlier was standing near the counter. She held a small piece of paper. "I wanted to give you this." Daniel opened it. It was a handwritten note. It said, "Thank you for believing someone like me matters." Daniel looked at the girl. "You're welcome." She asked, "Why did you help me?" Daniel smiled. "Because someone once helped me." The girl nodded. Then she asked, "Who?" Daniel looked at Maggie's photograph, a woman named Maggie. Years later, Daniel would become known across the state for helping struggling communities. But whenever someone asked him about his success, he never talked about money. He always told the same story: a 17-year-old boy, a freezing night, a bowl of soup, and one woman who chose kindness when she had no reason to. Because sometimes, you don't need millions of dollars to change someone's life. Sometimes, all it takes is a warm meal, a safe place, and one person willing to say, "I believe you can make it." And that is how one small diner in Ohio became more than a restaurant. It became a reminder that kindness doesn't disappear. It gets passed on, from one person to another, and sometimes, all the way across generations. The end.